Hi, and welcome back. Welcome to the Switch Show. If this is your first time listening, hi, I'm Alicia Chinoyanwafo, and I am the proud host of this beautiful, amazing podcast. This is the best place to be on every other day of the week. And yeah, if you'll be listening to this now, hopefully by Thursday it will be up. We post every Thursday except otherwise, maybe due to some technical difficulties or some technicalities and problems with the audio. We might have to shift it a day or two forward. But yeah, we're here and we're continuing the month-long series that we are doing on seasons. We've tackled spring, we've tackled summer, and here we are, fall season. I mean, I can already see orange leaves. I mean, it's autumn, and I think I'm falling for you. Well, aside cheesy pickup lines and what have you, autumn is quite the season actually, because autumn is. Let me read straight from my notes, but I'll not read it like I'm reading from my notes. But yeah, you get the gist. Yeah, autumn is the season of the year between summer and winter. So you're it's a transition. Autumn is like the bridge, you know. And let me give a reference that some people might understand. It's like in the US there is a border between Mexico and the US. So that border gate is like autumn, while let's say the US is summer and Mexico is winter. But if you're in Nigeria and you've traveled by road, traveling towards the east, there is the Niger Bridge that connects south south to southeast. That's from Delta into Anambra State. That's Onitsha, the Onitsha area. So that kind of thing. So the bridge that connects both ends of the spectrum is what I'm trying to say is autumn. So autumn is the time of the year where temperatures are gradually decreasing. So autumn is, well, I say the season of preparation most times because in okay, let me just run through my notes before I lose track of my thoughts. The concept of autumn in European languages is connected with the harvesting of crops. In many cultures, autumn is marked by festivals around the season's importance in fruit production. Now, a lot of the time during this period is when you see that a lot of crops that you've planted in other seasons, especially in spring, because spring in European languages, concept of spring in European languages is associated with seed sowing and sowing basically. So autumn is when you reap the harvest, and they tag it as a season of food production. So some festivals are attached to it. So aside that, there's something important I wanted us to note first. So it is the harvesting of crops, and usually when you harvest, you are harvesting for the sake of storage. Okay, you're harvesting for the sake of storage. I will take an example from the Bible. There was this young lad. There was this lad. His name was Joseph. Joseph was dubbed the dreamer. He dreamed that he was going to be so successful, and he told it to his brothers, and his brothers weren't having it. It's like a little kid comes, he's telling a 12-year-old is telling someone of like 25, he's telling him, "Nah, I'm gonna be more successful than you." And the 25-year-old is already running a pretty successful venture. So, long story short, Joseph got sold by his brothers out of jealousy. Instead of unaliving him, they sold him to captivity. They sold him into captivity. Then, in captivity, Joseph found favor. So, the king had a dream that there was going to be 7 years of harvest and 7 years of famine. So it was only Joseph that was able to interpret it, because he had a dream. He had a very weird dream. He was on a shore and he saw seven fat calves and seven thin ones. So Joseph was the one that was able to tell him that, okay, the fat ones represent harvest, plenteous harvest, and the thin ones represent famine. So because of Joseph's wisdom, Egypt was able to store up a ton of produce for 7 years. And when the 7 years of famine came, they were the most coveted nation in all of ancient days, in the Bible. So the inference I'm trying to draw from this is like, let's say that 7 year period was like the autumn season in Egypt's life, in Egypt's history. So they spent that time gathering, they spent that time harvesting, they spent that time preparing for what was to come. So many a times we find ourselves in our autumn season. That is a season of preparation. A lot of people think that they are already prepared for what is to come in many years, but you are only as prepared as the day before you. I don't know if that makes any sense. What I'm trying to say is that your preparation can only last you a day, and this is not. I'm not saying this literally, although sometimes it can be literal, but I'm not saying this literally. What I'm saying is that you shouldn't go everywhere. You shouldn't walk around. You shouldn't strut. You shouldn't go into your workspace or the labor market expecting that you are always prepared. We're living in a constantly evolving and changing world, a world where technology is moving faster than human thoughts and ideas and imagination. Like, you are in a constant battle to want to keep up with technological advancements and the ridiculous things that people in lab coats are trying to do. So you need to understand that aside you trying to keep up with the fast-paced world, you also have to try to keep up with yourself, because sometimes you lose grip of yourself due to inadequate preparation. So autumn season, like you was said, between summer and winter, summer is a time of multiple activities. There is an increase in tourist visitations and travels just for tourism and the views, vacations, staycations, and all that other stuff. So now you are gradually transitioning into a season of decline, of dormancy, which is winter. So autumn is the perfect time to prepare for that period. I know I've said this before and I'm saying it again. Winter is my favorite season because winter is where I get to rest a lot, you know, physically. Then I would tell you why I like winter and how it affects me mentally, when we talk about winter on our final episode on this series. So having said all of that, let me read through my notes again. During this period, which is autumn, animals gather food and those with fur grow thicker coats ahead of the winter. So even before reading this, I think I've kind of explained this a whole lot. So how can we relate this? You might be asking. You're like, yeah, bro, you've given a lot of beautiful facts, hard on points. How can I relate this to my life? I'm not seeing a correlation. Well, let us just dive a little bit. Let's dive a little bit. Just step on shallow waters. So here's the deal. When it comes to your career, let's say you're a financial person, you're in the finance market, autumn is the period where you are examining trends, economic trends. You're observing, you keep on losing the words. You're checking numbers, you're checking statistics. Autumn is the period where you make forecasts, so to say, you make economic forecasts. That is the period where economists would look at what is going on in the stock market, look at what has happened in times past and how it has affected present times, and they're able to make a forecast and say, hey, we're going to have a richly abundant year we're going to have a richly abundant third quarter. We're going to have 5 years of bountiful harvest and all of that. Or, oh no, we're heading into a bloody recession. So this is something you can relate to if you're in the finance. So similar to any other career path, for computer science, for music, for whatever it is. This is autumn is the time where you prepare, you get yourself equipped. If you're a musician and you're going on tour, that is the time you take care of your voice, you watch your sleep schedule, you check your instruments, you clear your, you do a lot of things to prepare for your tour. So what am I trying to say from all of this? Autumn is a season of preparation. I was looking for, I had to type, what is autumn symbolic of? And autumn is symbolic of maturity and preservation of life's necessities. So many a times we get lost in ourselves, we get caught up in the wind, we just get lost. Things become overbearing, things become too much. But hey, it's okay. I mean, we live in a very crazy world, so it's not far from it. It's actually very, very likely that you're going to experience a number of crazy challenges and a ton of, like I say, missteps, mishaps. I don't want to use the words, but yeah, it's bound to happen. Even to good people, you hear things like, why do bad things happen to good people? you know it's not it's it's funny, but sometimes it's not. But we have to realize that this world is cold, this world is crazy, this world is has been flipped on its head. So it's bound, things are bound to happen. So that is why understanding seasons in your life are very key to living and to surviving. Because when you're able to understand, okay, this is my quote in quote autumn season, I'm meant to prepare, you would not be using the energy for preparation to be more engaging in activities. You know what I mean? Like, if you're in your autumn season, you won't be wallowing in the whole summer mindset. You need to get your mind in line with it. You could act Funny thing is that, funny thing about this mental side of understanding seasons is that you could be in your autumn season in summer, and your friends are, now I'm not saying that you will not, go out, you just be in your room 24/7 with your doors locked, lights, internet, and some person who just slide food through a hole like you're an inmate or something. No, 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 no. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that there's a reduced level of activity. You know, there is more preparation. You don't meet situations unprepared. You don't meet things unprepared because you've equipped yourself. You've preserved knowledge. You've gained knowledge and you've preserved the knowledge you already have. Because one thing you don't understand is that the more time you spend in the fall, and I'm saying this because I've noticed that, being consistent as a podcaster, releasing content every Thursday, wanting to record, sometimes I feel like I run out of topics. You know, Aside this month being very planned, I thought about this, like, should I say, the middle of March. So I already looked forward to having a series called Seasons on my podcast. Aside this, after all is said and done for this month, I started thinking, what am I going to do in the month of May? If I do not publish new episodes, I'm going to look like a washover. It's going to feel like I don't have any other thing better to say. But quite the contrary, there are a lot of topics that have been left untouched. There are some things, I'll delve deeper into, especially when it comes to faith, my faith. If you don't already know, I'm a Christian. So there are a lot of things I'll delve deeper into. But I can't come on my podcast, which is highly public, and spew a lot of adulterated, unfiltered, unchecked, and ignorant information without preparation. I need to be prepared. I need to equip myself. I need to be sound. I need to have sound knowledge. I need to have expanded my, mind. I need to have expanded my knowledge, my vocabulary. So essentially, that is just what it is. Autumn is the period where you plan for the next step. There's a popular quote that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. The funny, it's actually a funny thing because even while failing, it means that you planned it. So whether you planned right, what matters is that you've planned right or you planned wrong. If you planned wrong, you've planned to fail. If you plan right, you're planning for success. So you need to prepare, you need to equip yourself. You don't go there unprepared. You don't go into a room and say, oh no, I want to be the light, I want to flip the switch and illuminate, when there is no electrical charge to sponsor that illumination. So you need to be equipped, you need to equip yourself. Okay, you've got this. We're rooting for you. I'm rooting for you because it's not been easy trying to be very consistent. But hey, I'm doing this not just for myself, but for a lot of people that need this even more than I do. And I'm really glad to be your favorite podcast. That's if I am. I'm really glad to be a podcast that you listen to or you consider. It's really very overwhelming, the kind of support that you guys give. And yeah, I'm really glad and I'm really thankful for all that you're doing for this podcast. We are moving exponentially. We're really trying to be more engaging on social media. I'm not really a social media person, but yeah, we'll do our very best to up the ante on our IG page so that you guys can get snippets of the podcast on IG. And yeah, very soon, who knows? We'll go global. Yeah, it's a dream, and I know that we can do it. It's not just me. I need you guys like you might need me. Yeah, I need you guys like you need me. So yeah, we've come to the end of the episode. I just want to thank you again for listening. Hope you've enjoyed. We are coming to the end of the series. Stick around till it's winter, even though we are barely into spring. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next episode. Flip that switch and illuminate your world. God bless. Yeah.